report on global hunger that was just released yesterday shows marked improvement by India, largely due to a sharp drop in malnutrition among children over the last 5 years. That's been partly credited to the UPA's welfare schemes. While the Congress has been quick to take credit, the fact is that the Modi government also has not scrapped these welfare measures. In fact, it's pushing many of them. However, many left economists are now worried about the potential dilution of the NREGA scheme and wrote to the Prime Minister on that today.
Are there now fewer hungry people in India? The Global Hunger Index brought out by the International Food Policy Research Institute says India's ranking has gone up 8 places, largely due to a huge drop in the number of malnourished children. So who should get credit for this, the UPA or the NDA?
Although 33-35% malnourishment still is a huge number and not to be happy about, but it is a measure of some satisfaction that the policies of the UPA have brought an almost 15% decline in malnourishment.
In its last budget, the UPA set out substantial allocations on schemes like Right to Food, NREGA and midday meals, even though it did not pay off politically. Now, amid reports that the Modi government may be reviewing some of these schemes like NREGA, 28 economists have written to the Prime Minister, urging him not to dilute schemes that help fight hunger.
We are worried about it because NREGA and all studies, number of studies, numerous studies have shown that NREGA had a very, very important impact, worked as a social security net.
The larger question is, are people sleeping hungry or not? And is the distribution of that support reaching them or not? These are the government principles.
Politics apart, activists say India needs a sustained campaign to make a real difference.
It's a welcome trend. But often in a country like ours, there is a mismatch between real data and the reality which is at field level. But still, we should continue to focus on policy intervention.
While political parties can fight over who should get credit for India doing better on the Global Hunger Index, one surely hopes that policies designed to fight hunger work on the ground. With camera person Suresh, this is Sandeep Phukan for NDTV.
Well, there are many issues that have been raised as a result of that story tonight. One is whether the credit for the fact that India's malnutrition figures are down, whether that credit goes to the UPA's welfare measures. Mr. Modi already has been criticized by some as repackaging those and continuing with them. But now you also have left economists concerned that maybe something like NREGA is being diluted. Well, joining us tonight on this is Gurcharan Das here in the studio with us. We have Prasenjit Bose also, and Sambit Patra of the BJP will be joined by Salman Soos, the Congress spokesperson as well. Let me ask you first, Prasenjit, when you look at this report on hunger levels and the fact that, they're saying that malnutrition is significantly down, they're giving part of that credit to the welfare schemes that the UPA launched. Would you say that that's fair, that credit has been given? Obviously, we still have a long way to go, but maybe there's a message there, to people here who often say that these welfare schemes cost too much and aren't worth the money. Prasenjit.
Yeah, I think that there are 2-3 points which needs to be made in this context. First of all, I think the data source of this report, it is still not available in the public domain. You see, generally malnutrition in India is, the analysis is done on the basis of the National Family Health Survey. This is not the National Family Health Survey data. This is some UNICEF survey which has concluded in this manner that malnutrition has gone down. So we have yet to see whether, how rigorous the findings are. Having said so, they may be correct that the malnutrition levels have gone down. But what needs to be understood is that it may have gone down, but it is still quite high. It is saying that 30% of our children are still malnourished. So 1/3, which is still a very high number. And I think that if the message is that welfare schemes have worked to an extent, fair enough. But the point is that it just points to the direction that, we have to have even more robust welfare schemes to eliminate hunger, because in a democracy, why should children, even 1% of children, go hungry? The fact that even after so many years of independence, 30% of our children are hungry itself is a matter of shame. And it is a matter of serious concern that this government is actually, in a sly manner, they are trying to wind up the welfare schemes, be it NREGA, be it ICDS, because the allocations in the budget speak for themselves. They have basically stopped increasing even the normal increases which happens due to inflation every year. They have started pulling back funds from those schemes, and the intention of this government is quite clear. So I think
you're saying you don't actually see, Prasenjit, you're saying you don't actually see the Prime Minister and this government trying to repackage these schemes and push them, in their own modified way, because there's been, there have been some economists who are very supportive of the BJP before the election, who thought that there would be a big reform agenda on the table when they got elected, who feel that there's, it's more of the same in a new, old wine in new bottle in a sense. But you're saying you believe that there's actually an attempt to dilute these welfare measures in the long run. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. See, repackaging, frankly, if you ask me, I don't care. What name you give to a scheme doesn't matter. The point is, you have to put your money where your mouth is. Now, for any scheme, for that matter, you see, inflation is there in our country, it's quite high. So every year there is a normal increase. Even if you want to maintain the size of a scheme, the extent of a scheme, the kind of beneficiary, the number of beneficiaries of a scheme, even intact over a period of time, you have to keep on increasing those allocations. If you look at the first budget of this government, it is very clear that they are freezing the allocations, which means in real terms they have already started cutting.
Okay, so Sambit Patra, what is the message then that the government is sending out? Because on one hand you see that the Aadhaar scheme is being pushed forward in a big way. On the other hand, the Food Security Act is also being implemented. And then you have economists today complaining that they believe, something like NREGA is being diluted, and they worry that they're saying there's a deep concern about the future of the program. So Sambit, what is the BJP's position on these welfare schemes? Are you on one hand admitting that the Congress did something good? What's the message?
No, let's get our facts right first and foremost. I would say within just 3 words that distinction would be seen. To have a bill is not equivalent to have a will. There is a difference between bill and will. Well, there are certain things which might have been on pen and papers during the Congress period also, but the kind of implementation that we had seen during the Congress rule was in fact dismal. We had seen the kind of pilferage, be it in the PDS system, be it in the food security system, be it in the NREGA, and in fact the government system itself agreed to the fact that almost 30% of the amount allocated for NREGA was going on pilferage. And who says that the government is trying to scrap these welfare measures? The biggest example of it was seen in the WTO meeting very recently. The government stood very firmly for the poor farmers of this country and for the 10% subsidy that they are getting at the minimum amount of money that they gain. So definitely the country has been fighting, this government has been fighting for the poorest of poor people.
So you acknowledge that those schemes were good ideas by the UPA?
No. I told that just having...
You're pushing them forward, which is a good thing. If it's a bipartisan thing that is being done to help people, great.
In the first opening statement itself, I said that just to have a bill does not suffice. You have to have the will to implement it, which the Congress lacked. Secondly, in the will to implement, it also had corruption. And we had seen the humongous nature of corruption, which in fact marred the basic essence of all these welfare schemes. The basic essence is that the people should not sleep hungry.
Let me take that to Salman Soz, the Congress's spokesperson, who joins us on the phone line from Srinagar. Mr. Soz, you heard what the BJP said there. In a way, they're paying you a compliment. They're saying that, you had these good ideas, but we're implementing them better than you. Mr. Soz.
Well, the thing is that they're talking about things. They haven't implemented anything yet. I think, Nidhi, when you ask the question who should get the credit, let the Congress not say that we get the credit. Let us listen to what IFPRI, which is it's this International Food Policy Research Institute. It's the preeminent international institution in this area, and according to them, their findings are that yes, India has a long way to go before we can kind of say that we're in a good position. At the same time, they talk about great improvements in India as far as malnourishment is concerned, and they talk about the direct impact of policies of the UPA government in the form of, say, integrated child development centers, in the form of the National Rural Health Mission, and the indirect impact of some of the social welfare schemes like the NREGA. And they talk about how these policies have, in fact, helped India improve its global hunger index position. So I think the lesson for the BJP is, in my opinion, that policies matter. They matter greatly. And if we had not implemented those policies, then how would we have all this kind of an improvement? So.
Nidhi, can I come in?
Say all he wants. He can say that, oh, by the way, these people did not implement anything. This did not happen by magic. I think they're getting used to Mr. Modi's kind of magic wand, which hasn't really implemented anything yet. They keep talking about things. I think they should pay very careful attention to what the UPA has done, and the results are there for all to see.
Okay, I'll let Samit respond in a moment. Let me just get Gurcharan Das and Ritika Khera into this. But Gurcharan Das, I know what overall position you have on welfare schemes, but these are important statistics. If malnutrition levels are down, those are important statistics. If they're partly giving credit to schemes that the UPA has launched, I think that's important as well. And yet, what are the signals you're getting from the government? Are they pushing forward those same schemes, or are they trying to dilute them?
Well, first of all, I want to take this out of politics. It's not Congress or BJP. First, we should celebrate the fact that malnutrition is down. Secondly, I do believe that the current schemes have played a role, but I am shocked, frankly, by the IFPRI report, because it is totally silent on perhaps the biggest reason why this has happened. The fact is, this period that they have studied coincided with the golden age of growth, that India's economy never had such a good period of growth. Growth means jobs. 1% growth creates 1.5 million jobs, when 3 indirect jobs with each job, meaning 6 million jobs which support 30 million people. So the fact that we had 8-9% growth for almost a decade is one of the
so
key
you're saying
factors.
It has less to do with the welfare schemes
I think
and more
so.
to do
I
with
think
economic
people,
growth?
when they have jobs, they are better able to look after their families. They allow their nutrition improves. Everything in the family improves. And so that is it's not surprising that in this very period, the number of people that rose above the poverty line was the highest in our history. I mean, we had during Tendulkar's time, when he had studied it was 1% a year.
Those are also contentious
but
figures.
Now, but I mean, some figures you have to believe. I mean, the fact is, if
Tendulkar's
time,
what is the signal
now
the
it's
Modi government is sending?
So what I am trying to say here is that don't undervalue the importance of growth, which creates jobs. Jobs are the best way to reduce poverty and malnutrition. Now, these direct interventions are also fine, because we need that as well. But what I'm shocked at is this anti-growth attitude of the IFPRI, which forgets, and also, frankly, they don't mention the role of clean drinking water. They don't mention the role of public sanitation and health. They don't mention the role of women's education. All these are factors that improve malnutrition.
So let me ask Ritika Khera.
That's what we should be looking at going
is
forward.
This an anti-growth attitude, as Gurcharan Das says? Are we underestimating what these welfare schemes can do? And do you believe, like Prasenjit Bose says, that there is an aim to dilute these in the long run, as far as this government is concerned?
So, can I start with something you said earlier, that what is the message that is coming from this new government? And as far as some of us are concerned, one very clear message is that there's going to be self-help for the poor and state support for the big business. As soon as Ms. Raje came to power in Rajasthan, she said, what is the need for an NREGA as an act? Why don't we just do it as a scheme? And what we're hearing now, and what is mentioned in our letter, I'm one of the signatories to this letter, is again that they're going to curtail the act to only 250 districts or 2,500 backward blocks. So this is a very worrying message. The whole point of these acts was that these are rights that will stay forever or for a very long time, so that people can think beyond their very basic needs of hunger and think about their children's education and their futures. So that's one thing. The other thing, which is sort of, whatever little I've heard on this debate so far, is that, the BJP seems to be very good at doling out these couplets. There is the will, there is a bill, but there is no will, minimum government, maximum governance. But they have to really go beyond this and show us, some serious will as well, because they haven't exhibited any will as far as we can see so far. The Food Security Act was supposed to come into force in July, then it was extended by 3 months, now it's been extended by another 6 months. So there's no telling what's going to happen.
But what Gurcharan Das is saying, that in order to, for instance, reduce poverty and malnutrition in this country, he's saying that doesn't solely depend on welfare measures.
Absolutely.
It also depends on economic growth.
I think
maybe that's what this government wants to focus on. Maybe balance it out.
Yeah, no, so I don't think that one comes at the cost of the other. The cost of the NREGA, for instance, is just 0.3% of the GDP, and it's reaching out to 25% of the rural population. Yeah, so it's at a very small cost that you're doing something quite substantial.